You said, you're the assessment nerd. You love assessment. You've also talked about it as a 4-letter word because it gets a lot of bad rap. Can you talk about assessment and how they historically have been used in ways that maybe exclude and marginalize certain student groups, and how we can reframe the use of assessments to better serve all students, especially those from historically underrepresented communities?
Yes, the word test is a 4-letter word, and it has pretty well deserved its rap in its history, right? Its historical use. Intelligence testing and other types of assessment has definitely started way back with roots in eugenics, and has consistently been used across time. Even when it has had reforms and improvements, often finding a way to exclude students from public education. And so we've consistently had to put laws in place, right, to keep including students in public education. But I think the way that we try to approach it now, because we need assessment, we can't do our work without it. And so it's really trying to differentiate. Some assessment is built for measuring stable internal traits of an individual. But to move education forward, we need to focus on things that are not stable internal traits of an individual. And oftentimes in history, those stable internal traits have been associated with specific demographic groups. But in education, that's not what we're trying to do. And the assessments that we're using and focusing on are really focusing on malleable, teachable skills for students, and those malleable, teachable skills that we know we can teach, and when we provide that intervention, that it does improve later outcomes for students. One of my most favorite studies is by Benita Blackman, where they implemented reading intervention in 2nd and 3rd grade for students who were performing below grade level. And then they randomly assigned kids to get that intervention or not. And then they were able to luckily study those same students 10 years later when they were graduating from high school, and found that though it wasn't statistically significant because they had a small sample size, but they did find that some of those students were more likely to go to college. They were less likely to need special education services. They were more likely to graduate from high school. So we know that if we can provide this intervention and provide these protective factors and facilitative skills, that it can improve long-term outcomes. So when I talk about assessment, I want to talk about those malleable, teachable skills, and also using that as a means for social justice for groups that have not had access to that type of instruction, right? You've had so many guests on who've talked about the people who can get access to that type of instruction have to seek it outside of the school system. They have to pay a lot of money to professional tutors to be able to find that instruction. My hope for assessment is that we get schools to look at these malleable, teachable skills in their assessments so that we can improve social justice, especially to those under-resourced, wealth-stripped schools that have not historically had access to the instruction that gives kids those skills.